In the historical and theological context of the Old Testament, we encounter narratives that, at first glance, may seem extremely disturbing, reflecting the cultural and social complexities of the time. One of these narratives is the story detailed in chapters 19 to 21 of the Book of Judges, a passage that, due to its intensity and content, may be considered inappropriate for sensitive or young audiences. It is imperative, therefore, to address this issue with the warning that the following content may be potentially disturbing and is not recommended for all age groups, having the potential to trigger past traumas in predisposed individuals. The narrative in question begins in chapter 19, during a period in Israel's history characterized by the absence of centralized monarchical leadership, where there was no king in Israel. A Levite, a member of the priestly tribe of Levi, residing in the mountainous and remote regions of Ephraim in northern Israel, establishes a conjugal relationship with a woman from Bethlehem in Judah, located to the south. This Levite man, whose position in society should reflect high moral and spiritual principles, finds himself in a complex situation when his concubine, or secondary wife, is unfaithful to him, leaving him to return to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah. After a period of 4 months of separation, the Levite decides to go to her in an attempt at reconciliation and return to the conjugal home. The unfolding of the story reveals layers of hospitality and hesitation, where the woman's father, in a gesture of welcome and perhaps repair, insists that the Levite stay in his house for several days. Despite repeated attempts to leave, the courtesy and insistence of the woman's father prolong his stay until the need to return home becomes unavoidable. As the journey back to the north unfolds, it triggers a series of tragic events, starting with the decision to avoid Gibeah, a non-Israelite city, opting instead to seek shelter in an Israelite community. The choice of Gibeah, in the tribe of Benjamin, as a place to spend the night, reveals an expectation of hospitality that is brutally subverted. The refusal of the inhabitants of Gibeah to offer shelter highlights a deep moral and social failure within the Israelite community itself, contradicting the norms of hospitality so valued in the culture and tradition. This narrative, besides being a dramatic account of disturbing events, serves as a mirror of the tensions and moral flaws present in Israelite society at that time. The lessons that emerge from this story are multifaceted, encompassing the importance of just leadership, the consequences of neglecting moral and social duties, and the need for genuine empathy and hospitality. Through the detailed exploration of this narrative, we are invited to reflect on the fundamental values that sustain a just and compassionate community. As the night unfolds in the city of Gibeah, the narrative within the Book of Judges reaches a dramatic and deeply disturbing turning point, illustrating the moral depravity to which society can descend. The arrival of an old man, offering hospitality to the Levite and his entourage, initially seems to be a return to the traditional values of welcoming and protecting the traveler, a central pillar of Israelite ethics at the time. The old man, upon finding the Levite and his concubine homeless in the square, promptly invites them to his house, promising them a safe place to rest, a gesture of generosity that starkly contrasts with the previous hostility of the city. However, the temporary safety within the house of the old man is abruptly challenged when men from the city, described as wicked and depraved, surround the residence, demanding that the Levite be handed over to them to satisfy their lustful desires. The demand of these men reflects not only a violation of hospitality, but also a grave transgression against human dignity and moral order. The host's proposal, though aiming to protect his guest, suggests an equally horrendous alternative, offering his virgin daughter and the Levite's concubine as substitutes to appease the enraged crowd, revealing a profound disrespect for the integrity and worth of women. The outcome of the night, with the concubine being handed over to the mob, brutally abused until dawn, represents one of the darkest and most condemnable episodes in the Bible. This event not only evidences the extreme moral degradation within Gibeah, but also serves as a painful reflection of the failures in leadership and social structure of Israel at that time. The community's inability to protect the vulnerable and adhere to its own ethical and religious principles underscores a crisis of values and the urgent need for reform and redemption. The repercussions of this atrocious act extend beyond the direct parties involved, sparking a series of conflicts and retaliations that resonate in the subsequent chapters of Judges, highlighting the consequences of such injustices not only for individuals but for society as a whole. The story serves as a stern warning about the dangers of moral collapse and indifference to injustice, calling attention to the imperative need for compassion, justice, and mutual responsibility in preserving social and moral order. This deeply disturbing and tragic segment of the narrative highlights the magnitude of the injustice and brutality inflicted upon the Levite's concubine, leading to a final act of despair and protest that shocked the entire nation of Israel. The woman's return at dawn, after enduring a night of unimaginable violence, only to collapse lifeless at the doorstep of the house where she had been staying, is a powerful and painful image. She embodies the extreme vulnerability of humanity and the catastrophic failure of society to protect the weakest among them. The Levite's reaction upon finding his concubine dead not only reveals the depth of his own anguish, but also serves as a symbolic act intended to awaken the nation to the gravity of the crimes committed against her. By dividing the body of his concubine into 12 parts and sending them to the 12 tribes of Israel, the Levite is not just mourning the loss. He is calling the entire nation to recognize and respond to the moral depravity within its own borders. This extreme act of protest aims to break complacency and force collective reflection on values and justice within the Israelite community. The tribe's reaction upon receiving the parts of the woman's body, accompanied by a description of the horrific acts committed against her, is one of shock and disbelief. This unprecedented event in Israel's history serves as a turning point, a moment of collective recognition of the need for action and reform to prevent such atrocities in the future. The statement that nothing like this has ever happened since the Israelites came up out of Egypt until today underscores the seriousness of the incident and the profound departure from the principles that should unite and guide the nation. This dark episode reflects not only on the individual and collective failure to protect the vulnerable, but also on the shared responsibility to respond to injustice. It calls the community to critical reflection on its laws, practices, and moral values, highlighting the urgent need for justice and change. Through this final act of despair, the Levite seeks not only justice for his concubine, but also a transformation in the consciousness and conduct of Israelite society, so that such horrors never recur. The deep analysis of the events described in chapters 19 to 21 of the Book of Judges leads us to critical reflections on ethics, responsibility, and the essence of humanity from a faith perspective. The lessons drawn from these dark chapters of the Bible offer valuable guidance for contemporary life, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a firm moral compass at all times. The first lesson addressed underscores the critical need for accountability in our lives. The absence of a central authority in Israel, symbolized by the lack of a king, led to an erosion of social and moral order, culminating in acts of violence and depravity. This narrative reminds us that without the presence of accountability structures to guide us, we can easily veer off the ethical path, committing errors we never thought ourselves capable of. It is a powerful reminder of the need for accountability systems in our lives, whether internal, through a solid moral conscience, or external, through laws and social norms that guide us. The second lesson highlights the sacredness of every human being as bearers of the image of God, a fundamental principle that should guide all our interactions and decisions. The treatment given to the concubine and the proposition made by the host, though reflecting the norms of their time, are contrary to this universal principle of respect and human dignity. This teaching calls us to see the other, regardless of gender, status, or relationship, as a divine reflection deserving of respect and protection. The mention of inappropriate internet content consumption serves as a contemporary example of how dehumanization can infiltrate our daily practices, weakening our capacity for empathy and respect for the sacred in others. Finally, the third lesson addresses the importance of proximity and faithfulness to God. The narrative of the Book of Judges, in its entirety, illustrates a trajectory of gradual distancing from divinity, culminating in devastating consequences for the nation of Israel. This pattern serves as a warning to the contemporary individual about the danger of straying from the spiritual principles and values that provide guidance and purpose in life. The departure from God is presented as a path to moral and spiritual vulnerability, where acts previously inconceivable can become possible. These lessons, derived from one of the most challenging passages of the Bible, invite us to reflect on the structure of our lives, the relationships we maintain, and the core of our spiritual values. They remind us of the importance of maintaining a moral compass centered on responsibility, respect for human dignity, and proximity to the divine as foundations for an ethical and meaningful life. Thus, the story of Judges, with its wealth of harsh lessons, serves as a mirror for our own lives, encouraging us to seek justice, compassion, and integrity in all our actions. The sequence of events that unfolds in chapters 20 and 21 of the Book of Judges, culminating in a devastating civil war between the tribes of Israel, serves as a powerful testimony to the deep and often unpredictable ramifications of our actions. This part of the story starkly illustrates the complexity of the human and divine consequences that follow acts of injustice and sin. The war between the tribes, incited by collective outrage against the sin of the tribe of Benjamin, reflects the severity with which the community of Israel treated moral transgression, while also highlighting the spiral of violence and loss that can follow the desire for justice. The survival of only 600 men from the tribe of Benjamin after the battle underscores not only the magnitude of the destruction resulting from this civil war, but also the complex moral and social issues faced by the other tribes of Israel. Remorse and compassion for the consequences of their own actions against Benjamin, fearing the extinction of one of the tribes of Israel, reflect the tension between the pursuit of justice and the preservation of unity and continuity of the nation as a whole. This episode serves as a backdrop for the fourth lesson mentioned, the inevitability of the consequences of our actions. The idea that, while we may choose our actions, we cannot choose the consequences they bring, is a fundamental truth that resonates not only in the biblical context, but in all aspects of human experience. The actions taken by the tribes of Israel in response to the sin of Benjamin had results that were simultaneously punitive and tragically self-inflicted, resulting in massive loss of life and the near extinction of one of the tribes. This lesson reminds us of the importance of considering the possible consequences of our actions, not only for ourselves, but for the broader community and future generations. It emphasizes the need for wisdom, compassion, and discernment in our decisions, recognizing that each choice we make can have a profound and lasting impact beyond what we may initially foresee. Furthermore, the narrative highlights the importance of proximity and fidelity to ethical and spiritual principles as a means of guiding our actions in a way that promotes justice, peace, and collective well-being. The story of Judges, with its lessons on responsibility, human dignity, consequences of actions, and the need for proximity to the divine, offers valuable perspective for reflecting on how our actions reflect and affect our relationship with God, with others, and with ourselves. The final narrative of chapters 20 and 21 of the Book of Judges, filled with questionable decisions and desperate actions, offers us a profound reflection on the moral complexities and inevitable consequences of our choices. The Israelites attempt to resolve the dilemma of the near extinction of the tribe of Benjamin through acts such as the murder of the men of Gibeah and the kidnapping of their women for marriage, while technically avoiding violating their oaths, reveals the intricate web of moral and ethical commitments that can be manipulated to justify morally ambiguous actions. This part of the story highlights human capacity for rationalization, where the lines between right and wrong can be blurred by oaths, laws, and traditions. The recourse to kidnapping as a solution to the lack of wives among the Benjamites, under the justification of a technical loophole in an oath, is an example of how solutions to moral dilemmas can sometimes compromise the very principles they were intended to protect. This act, while allowing the tribe of Benjamin to survive and avoid extinction, raises questions about the justice and morality of decisions made in times of crisis. The fifth lesson, that of divine grace, even in the most challenging circumstances and in the most destructive decisions, offers us a glimpse of hope and redemption. The closing of the Book of Judges, marked by the absence of central leadership and the prevalence of moral relativism, where everyone did what was right in their own eyes, serves as a mirror of the complexities of the human condition and the constant need for divine and moral guidance. God, in His mercy, allows for the rebuilding and continuation of the tribe of Benjamin, despite the failures and sins committed, illustrating the depth of divine grace in the face of human flaws. This ending reminds us that while our actions have consequences, often grave and irreversible, there is room for mercy, forgiveness, and reconstruction under the aegis of divine grace. The final message, that every decision carries consequences, many of which we cannot foresee or choose, is a powerful reminder of the responsibility we bear in our choices. It calls us to act with wisdom, discernment, and an awareness of the presence and divine guidance in our lives, always seeking paths that reflect justice, kindness, and mercy. This narrative, with its lessons of responsibility, humanity, consequences, and grace, offers a valuable perspective for reflecting on our own lives, encouraging us to seek guidance in our decisions and to remember the constant presence of divine grace, even in the most difficult situations. After diving into one of the most intense and thought-provoking stories of the Old Testament, you find yourself at a crossroads. A journey of surprising discoveries and invaluable lessons awaits you. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Picture yourself exploring uncharted mysteries, challenging your beliefs, and expanding your horizons with each new video on our channel. Each video is a doorway to a new adventure, an opportunity to delve deeper into the richness of sacred texts and the complexity of human history. Don't let the journey end here. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and be the first to embark on this journey of knowledge and transformation. Like, comment with your reflections, and share with your friends, because every story we explore together can be the beginning of a larger conversation. Your next big discovery is just a click away. Don't miss the chance to be part of this amazing community of knowledge explorers. Are you ready to continue the adventure? If so, click the subscribe button now and join us on this exciting journey. The future is full of possibilities, and together we can unravel the secrets of the past to illuminate the path to the future. Don't wait any longer. Your next big discovery awaits you. Join us now.